This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, I just have it on the PowerPoint. I don't have who they are.
It's quiet on everybody hears it being recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told me. I'll tell you that is, he put in the. I raced across town to get here. I'll grab a water. Anybody else need water?
Okay, right now, thank you.
No, I got one, I'm sorry, Andy.
Great.
And just kind of survive a year and see how we do. Get this first Christmas. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I, the Honorable Mayor Andrew Dawson, hereby call to order this meeting of the Sedalia City Council on the second day of October, part of the 2023-2024 session. Let us proceed with purpose and dedication to the values that guide our great city. First item on our agenda is the prayer, followed by Pledge of Allegiance. Councilwoman Boggess is going to lead us in prayer, so if we could all rise and pray.
Lord and Father of all creation, as we gather here tonight to take care of business of our city, we ask that you guide us on everything that we have to do. We ask protection and guidance over our fire, our police, our EMA, and all city leaders. We recognize all service awards tonight for these services to our city. And as we close this prayer tonight, I ask that you go with each of us as we return to our homes. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Robinson is absent. Oldham. Here. Marshall.
Here.
Boggess.
Here.
Hiller.
Here.
Cross is absent. Foster.
Here.
And Bliss.
Here. All right, the first item on our agenda is a public meeting regarding the flood insurance study and maps. We're going to have a brief presentation by Devin Lake, our CBO, with regards to what all this is going to affect.
Good evening. So this evening you have a proposed ordinance before you that FEMA has proposed new flood insurance rate maps and a new flood insurance study. The last time this was updated was back in 1996. So we are a member of the National Flood Insurance Program, which is administered through FEMA. And the goal of that program is to provide two things. One is to provide flood insurance to anyone inside the city limits. And that does not mean you have to be inside the floodplain. You can get it regardless. However, if you have a mortgage from a government-backed lender, you are required to have flood insurance if you are located within the floodplain. The second is to reduce future flood damage through the ordinance that you have before you tonight. And this helps regulate development so that we are reducing the losses that the insurance program would have to see. So the why as to how the National Flood Insurance Program became to be was from the Great Flood of 1993. So the Mississippi River crested at 49.58 feet, which is almost 20 feet above what the flood stage was. The peak flow rate could fill Busch Stadium to the brim in 69 seconds, just to give you an idea of how impactful that event was. 800 of the 1,000 levees that were built were breached. Infrastructure, including roads and bridges, failed. 50 lives were lost. $15 billion in damages. 55,000 Missouri homes had flood damage, and only 9% of them had flood insurance. And the National Flood Insurance Program paid out almost $172 million in claim payments. So That is why they ask us to regulate development inside the floodplain so that we can eliminate those losses. So the number of properties from the 1996 maps was 562, and the proposed maps for this year went down to 409. We supplied FEMA our 1-foot contours that we flew back in 2011, and that data is much more accurate than it was 30 years ago, which caused the floodplain to shrink dramatically in some places, but there are some places that have been added. So here are a few maps to show you. So the left side of the screen, that is the industrial park, and that the blue, the light blue is the old floodplain, the mint color is the new floodplain. So the industrial park has been completely removed from the floodplain. But you can see other sections, it's gotten much narrower. This is one of the major parts of town that it drastically got smaller. That is all within a channel there between Limit and Beacon, 4th to 5th. The middle there, that's through Centennial Park. It's gotten dramatically smaller and has stayed mostly in that channel. This is a part that was added that was not part of the floodplain before. That's at 32nd and Clinton Road. And then that down in the bottom right, that portion got a little larger than it was before. So the ordinance part is what regulates the development to reduce the loss of life and property. And the loss that you can see is not just necessarily from flood damage. The other things that are covered in the ordinance is flotation. Lots of people don't realize things will float downstream and cause a lot of damage. That includes materials, so equipment, anything that is not tied down can float away and cause damage. Buildings can collapse, and then utilities, if you don't have them elevated to where water can't enter them, or if they are not watertight, they can leak into floodwaters. So a floodplain development permit must be obtained for any development that happens in the special flood hazard area, which is the mint green area that you saw on the map. And just to summarize, residential, the lowest floor, including the basement, has to be elevated to at least 1 foot above the base flood elevation, and that elevation has to be documented by a Missouri licensed surveyor, engineer, or architect. On a non-residential structure, you can do the same thing. The lowest floor must be elevated to 1 foot above, or anything below that has to be flood-proofed, and both of those things have to be documented by a Missouri licensed surveyor, engineer, or architect. And then there's other sections in the ordinance that cover accessory structures, agricultural structures, enclosures below the floor that are only used for storage, vehicle parking, or building access, manufactured homes, and recreational vehicles. So these maps are scheduled to go into effect November 30th. We are passing the ordinance tonight because we have to send that to FEMA for their approval, and that has to be done before November 30th for their blessing, basically. Any questions?
Any questions, Council?
How long does it take FEMA to approve the new floodplain?
I would say less than 30 days.
And then how soon after that does this information get available to the public?
It will be made available on November 30th. Yeah.
On the maps that you presented, the light green areas, are those currently what it is, and the blue is what those areas are expanding to?
No, the blue is the old, the mint green is the new.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. All right. Any other questions, Council? All right. Thank you, CBO.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go ahead and open this up to the public, have a time for public comment. Anyone wishing to address council regarding these maps, you can step forward. You've got 3 minutes. Just please state your name and your address for the record. Having heard no public comment, we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion of the meeting. Next item on our agenda is a public hearing regarding the annexation petition. This is a correction of the legal description for Midwest Landing LLC. Administrator Shaw, do you have any comments for this?
Yeah, let's see, I'm trying to remember which one this one is. Okay, this is, yes. I believe I have it up on the map here. No. That's the other one that's coming up later, I'm sorry. Let me get my bearings here again. This one is the one we've approved actually a month or so ago, and the legal description was updated since we approved the annexation. And so we spoke with legal counsel, and legal counsel suggested, just to be on the safe side and in the spirit of full transparency, just run it through the whole process once again. So it is, should be, like I said, approved before. So, and I believe in our last hearing, we heard no comments for or against. So.
Any questions or comments from council? Having heard none, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter of annexation, please come to the podium, state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes. Going once, going twice? All right. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Let's see. Up next, we have the approval of the previous session's minutes dated September 18th, 2023. Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion approved. Second.
Any council discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, council. Now we have the roll call of the standing committees. Up first, we have Finance and Administration. Chairman Marshall, you have the floor.
Hi, thank you. I have 3 items in my report tonight. First is the required annual audit report from Bothwell Regional Health Center, presented by the CEO and CFO.
Everybody, I'm Lori Whiteman. I'm proud to be the CEO of Bothwell Regional Health Center. I have with me tonight CFO Steve Davis, and we are here to give our annual report, and as you can see what the section says about that report here. I thought I'd take a brief little detour since we just concluded the Missouri Photo Workshop. In 1980, I saw this picture from our operating room, but I was very interested in the sign that was on the wall. It had to do with use of flammables not permitted, but the sign was posted by the Board of Trustees. So I thought that was an interesting role that the board played in 1980. We were happy to host Alex Kent, who was one of the photo journalists, and he had really full access, followed Dr. Kippers primarily around the hospital, but got involved in all kinds of things. And Alex let me know that our collaboration won Best in Show for Missouri Photo Workshop. And so very exciting to see. And his he was pitched his story about the role of rural health care, and the Washington Post is interested in picking up his story. So, okay, I'm going to turn this over for a little while. We're going to tag team here.
Okay. Thank you, Lori. Again, my name's Steve Davis. Thank you all for having us. And this is why we're here, is to go over our financials. But let's just talk a little bit about our volumes that we have. So as you can see, this comes from some benchmarking that we did. When you look at rural hospitals in Missouri, for every 77 patients they see, 1 patient is admitted. At our hospital, every 71 patients seen in our clinics, there's 1 admission that comes out of those 71 visits. We serve a total unique patients in the last year of 49,232. A unique patient is every one of us in this room is a unique patient. Some people might be seen 10 times, and some people only once. But that's how many people we've seen. Our clinic visits are almost $150,000 last year. That is our outlying clinics that are not based in the hospital. Our ED visits were just under 25,000 visits this past year. Our surgeries were 3,120. And the huge thing that we changed with our infrastructure going forward as far as how the foundation runs, instead of retaining funds and us getting interest, they are more seeking donations and seeking projects to fund. They've funded $1.2 million, almost 1.3 this past year, of which 800,000 bought us a new CT scanner. So very much appreciated. Without the foundation, we wouldn't be able to afford such things. Now, this slide here is the one that's the hardest one to read, but this is why we're here. This is the audited financial statements. You'll see it goes back to 2019, all in the red. 8 million in 19, 5 million, 5.5 million in 20. If you look at the very bottom line, almost 900,000 in 21 during the pandemic years, 3.6 in 2022, and 6.1 in this past fiscal year. So what are we doing about that, and how does that stand? This is how we look at benchmarks. We presented the same slide last year. We actually didn't change any categories. This is Quorum. It's a national-based firm that this is how they measure the health of a hospital. So you can see it's stress, stable, or strong. So we bounce back and forth between all three categories, but the most important one is days cash. That one we're still struggling with. We're about 35 days right now in days cash. Average age of plant is 12. I want to say that we're at 20. So we haven't bought any capital for a long time. As far as debt goes, we have very little debt. So that we're in good part as far as to net assets and net revenues to the benchmarks. Our debt service, we're actually right in the stable hospital range. But our EBITDA, as you can see, we have is lower than what is expected. So it's under 5%.
You can do
Oh,
that one.
okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're not alone. If you look at these things, what's making us struggle here is increased claims denials from Medicare Advantage plans. Medicare, you don't need to have an off, traditional Medicare. The other Medicare, you need to have an off in order to have certain things done, medical necessities or whatever. And a lot of times they deny things after the fact. So every day I get a stack, or not every day, but every week I'll have a stack like this of claim requests that they did an initial denial on because they want to see the paperwork on the individuals, and that's the Medicare Advantage plans. We have increased bad debt. We have over $13 million worth of bad debt. About $8 million of that comes from uninsured. However, almost $4 million of that comes from people with insurance because the deductibles and the copays are so high anymore. When an employer has insurance and they come back with a rate and said, well, we can give you a 5% increase, but your out-of-pockets for your employees are going to go up. And you'll see that in the slide later where we have a person with insurance that had a very large bad debt when you look at toe joints. There is 77% of our business is government, okay? When you look at us compared to other hospitals in the state, that's 72%. So our percent of business as far as Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, VA, and the disability, SSI disability, is 5% higher than the average in the state. If you go to urban hospitals, they're usually hanging around 50%. Now, you'll see slides here in just a little bit that's going to say, well, why is that important? But for this slide, we're going to go back to our operating expenses. If you guys will see on that one slide where I said from 2019 to 2023, this is the percentage change that has happened in those categories. You can see our average supplies are up 5.6, or our average expenses are up 5.6%. That's our operating expenses. Yet our average net revenue is only up 5.1%. When you drill down into that 5.1% of our net revenue, our unique patients that we judge ourselves on how we do, is how many people in our service area we're seeing. Our average growth in that is 3.4% every year for the last 5 years, which is awesome. But what does that mean in the net revenue? So the net revenue based off of what, since most of our payers are government, it's only 1.7% increase in what's been allowed from Medicare, Medicaid. Medicaid finally increased our rates last year for the first time in per diem for 20 years. So that's a huge deal for us going forward, but we can't sustain that. Inflation, for the most part, up until last year, was pretty much subdued, and we're allowed on our contracts to go up by whatever inflation is. So we raise our prices that much every year as allowed by our contracts, i.e. particularly Blue Cross is the biggest driver in that. But when you look at our expenses, our revenues are up 5.1. If you look at all other expenses, they're at 3.5%. That includes salaries, repairs and maintenance, all other purchase service contracts, rent, minor equipment, everything. So we're managing that. But in that 5.6%, there's two categories that are outstanding, and you'll see here later down the road about in the industry what's driving that. So drug costs over those 5 years is going up 19.2% a year. Okay, contract labor is up 23.2% a year. Just those two line items is what drives our business. When you get to the cost shifting piece of it, 78% is the payers that are governmental, and you'll see this graph depicts how much they pay on cost. When you look at the top line going across there, our charge, okay, so that's how much of a percentage let's say take insurance for example. Insurance is paying us 180% of our cost. That's how we pay our bills. Those people that have insurance is paying 180% of cost. 100%, the dashed line is our cost. Medicare, Medicaid, and self-pay, Medicare and Medicaid are at 80% apiece. Medicaid used to be lower, but they've slightly passed Medicare right now. But they only pay 80% of the cost. Self-pay, on the other hand, thank God for Medicaid expansion, that used to be 7% of our business. Now it's only 4%, but they only pay 4 cents on the dollar for self-pay. Most of that comes from the emergency room because we are not allowed to ask how somebody's going to pay in the ER. So that's what we're in for. All the insurance companies and the government's trying to squeeze down our reimbursement, and we're just trying to survive on the 1.7% of the increase of what we're given. When you look, do you want to do this one? When you look at where does the money go and why does legislation focus on hospitals so much? Hospital care is 31% of the spend in healthcare. Physicians is 14%. Everything else is minimal. Clinical services, home health, drug prescriptions is less than 10%. Government administration is not that much. Health insurance is only 7% of what is spent by the government. But yet, when you get to this, who's making money in healthcare? All right, United Healthcare's profit, $20.6 billion in a year. Cigna, $6.7 billion. I can go down the list. Humana, Centene. That is their profit. Big Pharma, if you look at the diagonal one across, $81.9 billion last year. And yet for the pie of what is spent, they are such a small piece of it. And what's focused on by legislation is the large piece on what it costs to deliver. So while we're bearing the brunt of it, Big Pharma and insurance are getting richer.
Here, I think.
Before we
so-
get to this, do we want to see if they have questions? Or?
Sure, on the audited
questions?
financials.
Any questions, Council?
You know, and my only comment on those last of, you know, who is making money, there is something wrong when half of those of us that deliver care 24/7 are losing money, and those that process claims and make drugs have record profits. I mean, that's... So, instead of reaction being, oh, boo-hoo, what do, you know, this is how it is, we have to deal with the financial reality. And so this is what puts on one slide, in essence, what our financial recovery plan is that we have been in the middle of, the board has been overseeing for really the last year. So revenue, you look at, okay, revenue minus expenses equals our survivability or sustainability. So on the revenue side, we have had negotiating payer contracts. Our residency program, we are getting an enhanced reimbursement because we have, we're an academic medical center now, so we're getting additional reimbursement for the increased cost there is of having residents. I'm going to talk about 340B, but more on the expense side, and I have a slide next reminding us exactly what 340B is, because that is a big part of our financial recovery. Shared savings, we're in our first full year of being in an accountable care organization and did get shared savings. $350,000. Yeah, $350,000. So there is much more that improvements we can make in managing people's health, and so, but that was our first dip in the water on shared savings. We are just now starting upfront collections. The last page in your handout that I gave you is just now what we distributed, explaining to everyone how that's going to work. But that is to get patient responsibility component upfront for non-emergency type high-end imaging as well as elective procedures. We have gone after any available FEMA money that we qualify for, and in fact, we've gotten 4.4 plus 250,000. We have about 2 million left out there that's going through the approval process. We look for any grants that we may be available for, and we have our foundation. More and more, all of healthcare will be relying more on philanthropy, and you can see that in the numbers that we have from our very generous donors. And our foundation is taking steps to go to the next level of fundraising for us. On the expense side, right out of the gate in January, you will see the effects of changing to a narrow network and the savings we've had as an organization as well as our employees have had. 340B, the next slide explains what that is, but basically it allows us to purchase outpatient drugs at very discounted rates from the pharmaceutical companies. There's no government money involved in 340B. It comes directly from pharmaceuticals. So our expense saving is also their reduction in revenue. We had several work streams on decreasing what we pay for supplies, so like implants on total hips and knees. The orthopods worked with us to get better pricing on that. Surgical implants, the physician contracts we just now standardized. That went live July 1st. During the pandemic, we had closed our third floor to save on contract salary prices, and we have not reopened that because to staff that unit would have to be with contract staff. We have decreased the contract labor cost. We still have 17 contract nurses, but the rate has gone down significantly since the height, about half of what it used to be. And we are looking at different partnerships like our Missouri Co-op, which our Narrow Network is part of. What are the other ones I'm forgetting?
Quorum or GPO, it's 170 independent hospitals.
Yeah. So for 340B, it's been around for a little more than 30 years. It was initiated by Congress to specifically help financially rural and vulnerable hospitals to manage rising prescription costs. It is administered through HRSA, although Congress did not give HRSA any regulatory authority to regulate it. It just was administering it. And it allows us to purchase outpatient drugs at discounted rates. They was very specific in the enabling legislation that it was targeted to critical access hospitals, so community hospitals, rural referral centers, and disproportionate share. And those were disproportionate in the number of people in low income or on Medicaid that we're providing care to, is how we qualified. This looks at cash expended or saved per year. Unfortunately, all the real numbers there are what per day we lose in cash. These are done moments in time. Most of these are at our year end. I have the first letter or the first date transposed. It's 5/31/19. But you can see that as we were going into the pandemic, we were digging out of a hole then too. And we were not going into the pandemic from a position of financial strength because we were losing 23,000 some a day. Then we got some advance payments from Medicare. It improved, but at the lowest point of where we're digging out of our COVID hole, we were losing over $40,000 a day. You can see we are digging out. When we just looked from January to where we were in August, we're improved that. It's still certainly not where we need to be, but it's close to 6,400. And that is, I'll show you what was part of that, but mainly it was our change in our health insurance. With 340B, that goes, the earliest we could go live on that was October 1st, the federal fiscal year, and so this last weekend we are now on 340B, and just from that, being able to purchase drugs at a discounted rate, that will add 11,000 per day. So we should be at a positive when we see a full effect of 340B. The goal is we need to get to making 18,000 a day. That produces really the minimum that is needed to reinvest in our 93-year-old building, new technology, replacement of equipment, all of the things you need to do to have a robust hospital and clinic. Did I explain that correctly? Okay. You want to talk about this?
Sure. All right, so this is our margin improvement plan, and these are the steps that we took. So this time a year ago, we, the Board of Trustees, voted that we were going to take a leap and become Healthy Z, change our traditional insurance that we had with Blue Cross for a long time and switch over to Healthy Z in a narrow network between us and Boone. I think Fitz is in there. But we were the only one that offered this 100% to our employees. And you think about what savings we've had. And through the first 8 months, we have saved $6,400 a day on our health insurance. has been huge for us. Our members are saving $75 per member per month. So for out-of-pockets, if you choose our narrow network, and especially for us, if you choose Bothwell, you don't have an out-of-pocket if you pick the one plan. If you pick the other one, it's like $20. But it was a lot cheaper. That's the biggest change that we've made. The biggest thing in this is, again, you go back to pharmaceuticals. It's in our employee pharmacy cost and how much we spend on that. We switched our PBMs, which is basically it's pharmacy, can't remember what the B is, management, benefit management. And it's what your rebates are, what all these things are. Our largest rebate before was $73,000. Our first quarter, we earned a rebate of $218,000, and our second quarter is $216,000. So $400 and some $1,000 in 2 quarters just on what our employees use on drug costs. So that's only, on the plan is only 700 and some members. So that's where a lot of it is. And then we step out here by month when everything else is going to be kicking in. A lot of the non-labor stuff, contracts and that is kicked in also as we went along, starting in February, January. It's actually tiered out all the way up through June. The alignment of our physician comp and design, that is actually a cost saver and a revenue producer. Our mid-levels, their production is up in the first quarter was up 12%. So trying to see more patients and do things on a timely manner. So that's a win-win for all of us. The Medicaid managed care contracts, we have now finalized that. That's worth about $340,000, I think, off the top of my head. And it varied based off the different formulas, based off the patients that each one had. But there's a formula that the state put out there that we negotiate with our managed care contracts because we were now classified as of July 1st a teaching hospital, even though it was January the year before. The state didn't recognize it until the beginning of their fiscal year. So that's all starting now as well. Upfront cash collections will begin this month, and we're implementing 340B also this month, which is huge for us. When we had a review of what we use just for our employees, just to give you one example of how this works, there's one drug, I'm not sure on what the volume was, but they said it went from $2,300 cost for a vial for what we pay right now to $226 a vial. That's a 90% savings on that one deal. So 340B is huge for us and many other rural hospitals.
So when you look at the literature and different publications as well as consultants that work with rural hospitals, they looked across the country and said, of the independent hospitals that are successful, what is the common traits? And partnerships and relationship building is certainly a common thread. And so that's really what we have been looking at of independent hospitals working together, partners who share the same goal. So in our Missouri Co-op, that is what it's made up of: independent physician offices, independent hospitals, and how can we work together to, for a win-win for us. So we will continue to look for, I know there's a different meeting happen, a larger group of independent hospitals in the state looking at how can we share overhead costs, how can we get economies of scale on things that are non-clinical in nature, that don't involve patient care. So again, looking for partners that share our goals. While we have been very focused on financial recovery, we're not going to shrink our way to greatness, so I did want to give a couple of updates. Our K-9 officer, Ringo, is now on duty. He is brought to us by the generosity of several donors, and that we even needed another tool in our toolbox to prevent assaults on healthcare workers is disheartening, but that's the reality. Last year, we had 42 assaults on healthcare workers. We wrestled 29 patients, use of force. We had 102 combative patients. We seized 64 weapons, and we had 1 bomb threat. And so this Ringo is trained in aggression control, also explosive detection. So he is available to police and sheriff when needed. And he has been on duty for about 3 weeks now. And our new canine officer has 14 years of canine handling out of the military. And so far they're doing well. We have had to use Ringo a couple of times, and our experience mirrors that of Springfield Cox. Just by presenting him at the door, that's all that's needed. He's not needed to growl or anything. It seems that a dog is far more effective than a human in reducing aggressive behavior. Our clinics off Broadway have been open since last February, when Dr. Eldenberg moved his practice over there. But as of August 1st, we started with limited walk-in hours, and then this week we went to a regular Monday through Friday walk-in hours, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. With the addition of a new nurse practitioner. So that is very much up and going, both sides, and Eldenberg has his usual busy practice over there. Here's all of the 2 nurse practitioners and Dr. Eldenberg. We are in our 2nd year of our family medicine residency. That means the 2nd years are now here full time. Next year we'll have 2 more, so we'll have 4 here full time. The first years are just here 1 day a week, but both of our new first years bought houses in Sedalia. Obviously, this is a key piece of our recruitment for new primary care physicians, because after living here 2 to 3 years, it increases the likelihood that you'll want to stay. And all of these residents were attracted to a rural practice in the first place. That's why they applied to our residency. And we have a community health foundation committee that is really charged with gaining more fans and friends of Bothwell. So they have been putting on community health educations. We had one on stress coping, had another one on cardiac disease. We are repeating the Medicare Simplified that was very popular here in Sedalia. We're doing one in Warsaw. And then a session focused on females, on what your mama never told you, on November 9th. So that is one way of getting more people to our campus, have them interact with our healthcare experts. This was the statement that was in our annual report to the foundation, and I think it fairly well describes our commitment to remaining independent. Okay, any questions you have?
Council, do you have any questions for CEO Whiteman or CFO Davis?
Oh, come on, you're letting me off easy this year. Yeah.
I really don't know how much you guys worked with Acres Community College and the nursing program, but I'm really encouraged by the internship or by the residency program.
Yeah.
It just kind of seems like a natural fit.
Absolutely. I'm on their advisory council for the health sciences. I'm also on the nursing advisory council for State Fair, and we work very closely with them. And besides nursing, we also have several students in the rad tech, ultrasound. We're involved in their surge tech program, their new one that they just started. And I've been working with them on other, disciplines to look into, like biomed. So,
The residency generates revenue. No way the state care program could,
yeah,
well, I'm still encouraged. I think that's
yeah,
great.
yeah. Well, and,
Partnership.
you know, it's a perfect partner. They're here in town and they, you know, they want to provide new nurses for us.
Ideally, the revenue we would get from them is if the nurses like this, that they would stay.
Mhm.
Any other questions, council? Thank you, CEO Whiteman and CFO Davis.
Second is a presentation for self-funded health insurance. Staff has been working with our insurance brokers to determine if self-funding or employee health insurance would be wise. Staff is now ready to make a recommendation based on the information he has gathered. We have representatives here to make their presentation.
Good evening. So I came on April 17th and actually made a recommendation as I've been working with Kelvin and Shannon on basically integrating the city's benefit plan into a self-funded model instead of, like the hospital was talking about, keeping all the money in the insurance carrier's pockets. We're going to put it back into the city of Sedalia's pocket, into a reserve account. So we have been doing some negotiating currently with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. That is your current fully insured carrier. Our first recommendation is obviously when I was talking, let me actually skip forward, sorry. When I was talking on April 17th, I was talking about we really would like to put you on that phase 1 of a 3-year roadmap plan to get you guys to where you are fully self-insured, basically paying all your claims, looking for a PBM, looking for a narrow network, partnering with Bothwell in order to be on that narrow network. So phase 1 is going into a partially self-funded option, which basically what that means is Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City would still be your claims payer. They would be your PBM, your stop-loss carrier, and also no changes in network, no issues with any of employee benefits or anything like that. So it would stay the same, but the difference is that extra money that you would have sitting in reserves would be the city's money. Speaking of which, looking at your loss ratio report or your medical loss ratio report, currently year to date, you have paid out $1,127,118 in premium. Your total RX and medical claims amount and admin fees is $513,465. If the year actually ended today, basically you guys would be allocating $613,653 to the insurance carrier. That money would be with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City, that you would not get back. The additional money that what we're seeing is that money would actually be in the city of Sedalia's bank account. In 2022, your loss ratio was sitting at, or your total premium was sitting at $1,745,457, and your total spend for your RX and your medical and admin fees was $1,118,897, which basically you left on the table with Blue Cross and Blue Shield for 2022, $626,500. That money could be staying in your reserve account with the city of Sedalia. Just a little, background on that. So what we're recommending is, like I said, moving into that first phase 1, going the partially self-funded option with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. We take it more of a stair-step option to where year 2 it's going to look a lot different. We're going to start looking at other TPAs, looking at actually splitting apart your benefits for your city staff. Like I said, members would not experience any disruption with the network providers. City would be responsible for paying claims on a weekly basis, and the administrative costs would be coming out monthly. It would run just like a fully insured plan. What you would be doing is putting whatever we decide on contribution strategies, the employee costs that you deduct out of their paychecks versus the city amount that they contribute toward those medical plans would go directly into a bank account.
Those claims would be pulling out on a weekly basis, and then your admin fees, which is basically just them paying Blue Cross and Blue Shield to be your claims payer, would be coming out on a monthly basis. So at the end of the year, the additional amount of the premium collected, claims and admin fees paid by the city will be kept in their reserve account. So here's the 3-year self-funding strategic plan. This is a sample only. So first year, as we're talking, is we're moving into the partially self-funded option. It's considered an immature plan year. So ASO, which stands for Administrative Services Only, would be with your in-force carrier, the stop loss, admin, and RX. It would stay with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. We do fund to an immature max. Basically what we're saying is we're projecting an expected claims amount with our actuaries, and IMA has set a funding level that we think they expecting claims based on a 2-year history. What we recommend for first year, in order to budget accordingly, we are stating that we need you to fund to max. So there's that extra money that you're building up in that reserve account every year, that you're building up additional savings, or you're paying yourselves really at the end of the day. Year 2025 next year is when it hits that mature plan year. We could either stay with the ASO plan with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, but there is also unbundled arrangement, which, like I said, we shop TPAs, PBMs, all different stop loss carriers. It opens a whole different spectrum of options for the city. There is a lot of strategic planning involved, and also, you know, we are keeping track of your claims history on a monthly basis. We're giving Kelvin and any type of budgeting information, and also any loss ratios of what you guys are sitting at. We're also tracking the high cost claimants for any claims that may be over a certain, like $85,000 individual stop loss level, which basically the city would be on the hold for anything over that $85,000. Year 2026 it's just going to be ongoing cost containment strategies for the city that we were just projecting of how to, you know, be cost effective, also any innovative ideas, also making sure that we are offering the best benefits for retention and recruiting for your staff members, and to obviously bring on new staff members to the city. Okay, and here's the self-funding review. This is a graph. So the known spend, if you look in the middle on 2024, the fully insured renewal is sitting at $1,675,415. This is a negotiated rate that we negotiated with Blue Cross and Blue Shield to stay as a fully insured option. They first of all came in at a 0%, basically keeping you guys flat so nothing would change. We did go back and negotiated with them because, you, like I said, you guys are staying at about a 46% loss ratio, which doesn't make sense. In the insurance world, typically loss ratio, you usually will see it between 90 and 100%. So if you think if you're going further away from 100%, that's how much money you're actually paying in premiums versus your claims, and it's not equaling up. You want to be close to that 90 to 100% mark, because all that additional funding is just going directly back to the insurance carrier. So what we're recommending is to fund to that $1,764,484 in order for first year, in order to build that reserve. We're expecting that you guys are going to spend $1,585,600, which you can see that your estimated reserve at the year end of 2024 would be sitting at $178,884, money that would just be sitting there for the city. What we're recommending is also going on to the $85,000 individual stop loss on a 12-12 contract. That means paid contract. For second year, we go into an incurred paid contract, which that's why first year we go above and we go to max claims funding versus the expected. Next year, we will definitely look more at the expected claims versus the max claims, because we're trying to build up that reserve for you guys. The other advantage of going to a partially self-funded option is the different plan design alternatives that you guys have. You have more control over your plan. We're able to offer additional enhancements to your plans. We work directly with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and Kelvin and Shannon make that decision of where they want to put co-insurance, deductibles, co-payments for office visits, all the different things. On a fully insured plan, you don't have that discretion. You get the plan what the insurance carrier tells you you're going to have. Here you have more control and to help on obviously recruiting, retention for your employees, and also it's going to allocate to where we can balance out actually families wanting to enroll their dependents onto the plan. Because typically the way your plans are set up, what we're seeing is there's actually more of an increase of sick people taking the plan versus the healthy people. You want to have a good balance with healthy and sick in order to balance out your claims costs. So by making some plan design alternatives, we believe that we should be able to shift a lot more, enrollment for employee spouse, employee child, and families, and offer a true benefit for your growing families in your population. So the plan enhancements only impact the claims that run through that plan. Over the last 18 months, only about 45% of claims have been on that $3,000 plan, the $3,000 plan. Relatively few people exceed the deductible and the out-of-pocket max, so those changes don't result in substantial change in projected claims. These final plan decisions will be shared with Blue Cross and Blue Shield to do a final maximum claims underwriting on a self-funded option. So if you look here, just some examples, we did some different alternatives on that plan 3000, where we bumped down your co-payments for your office visit to $0 and $50 for a specialist visit. And also instead of on diagnostic lab, diagnostic x-ray, and advanced imaging, we put a co-payment amount versus deductible and co-insurance. Also on the inpatient hospital, outpatient hospital, and we included the copay per day instead of deductible and co-insurance, which if you look at it at the very bottom, it's only going to increase your claims expected, or your expected claims, only by 0.4%. It's a very substantial, basically what I'm saying is you have that discretion to make those changes, and it's not going to affect the funding as much as one may think. But you can only do this, unfortunately, on a partially self-funded or a self-funded arrangement. On fully insured, you, unfortunately, as the company that is writing that is with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, you don't have that right to say how you want your plan set up on a fully insured option. So the next one is the self-funding contribution scenario. So basically what we're saying is if we were to keep everything the same as current with going up to max claims and keeping the employee monthly rates at that 0%, so there's no increase to the employees, we're looking at the City of Sedalia monthly rate going toward those employee benefits impacted by 4% in order to fund to the max claims level. But just remember, the 4% is actually you guys are paying yourselves. You're not paying the insurance carrier, you're paying yourselves. That money's going into the reserve account. So really, at the end of the day, it's still going to all balance out. And whatever we decide to set your funding at or your contributions at, it's at the end of the day, it goes into that reserve account that we're pulling the claims and the admin fees out of. Do you guys have any questions on that?
Any questions for IMA Council?
Just on the contribution. I have a few more slides, sorry. Okay, just kind of going through your renewal and what we're doing for 2024. Blue Cross and Blue Shield fully insured renewal was presented as a flat renewal. We did negotiate with Blue KC to get a 2% reduction to a fully insured or a flat renewal with a half-month premium holiday credit, which accounts for $71,000. If we are to look at the fully insured option, we would recommend that you take the half-month premium holiday and the flat renewal because it actually equals to more than what you would get with a 2% reduction. We did also receive the ASO partially self-funded option. We negotiated with Blue KC to hold rates and decrease stop-loss max claims to adjust for the $120,000 aggregate corridor. This is the percentage that Blue KC underwriting believes that the city should fund over or to cover all expected claims. The individual stop loss is going to be set at $85,000. So here's kind of just a brief summary on the current fully insured versus proposed medical with ASO partially self-funded. Currently, the city has 166 employees that are currently enrolled on the HSA plan. The HSA plan is considered a high deductible plan, which everything is subject to deductible and co-insurance. It was set at $3,000 this year because of IRS compliance. We would have to raise that to $3,200 and $6,400 for a family. You know, we always recommend to review your HSA contribution for the city. I believe you guys are pretty well benchmarked on what you guys do contribute toward HSA contribution. We do want to look at, obviously, cost sharing of how we're going to allocate between different tier levels for dependent coverage. We've obviously talked with Kelvin and talked about trying to increase some of the contribution toward dependent coverage to enhance or to encourage families to put their healthy children on the plan, because that all in all is going to work the best for the plan at the end of the day. So the PPO 3000, there's 57 employees currently enrolled. We are recommending a richer benefit offering with office visit and $0 copay with a $50 specialty copay. Lower copay offerings on inpatient, outpatient, and prescription coverage. The IMA actuary has projected only a 0.04% increase in claims, offering these richer benefits for your employees. Again, we're going to review the cost sharing, also just really make sure that we are driving to add more dependents onto the plan. The PPO 5000 plan currently only has 7 employees currently enrolled. We are asking that you up the richer benefit offering with the office copay of $0 and the $50 specialty, lower the copay offerings on the inpatient, outpatient, and also prescription drug coverage. The IMA actuary, we have projected as only a 0.1% increase in claims in order to offer these richer benefit offerings. Again, with this plan, we would still also review cost sharing. So, again, these adjustments to richer benefit offerings applies to city only moving to the partially self-funded option. All these options would not be available, unfortunately, with a fully insured option. Just a little update on your voluntary benefits that the city currently offers to their employees. The vision insurance is currently with Blue KC Vision. There is no rate increase, so we are renewing as is. Your voluntary life and dental and all your other voluntary benefits are moving over to the standard. The standard is a great carrier partner. They partner with several different public spaces, public entities. They offer some really rich benefits, line of duty benefit for your police officers, your fire chiefs. They're a great partner with any type of public entities. We are implementing new this year a voluntary long-term disability plan for the employees to engage in, which I think is very exciting. So the next slide is basically what we're asking is we are recommending a motion to move the city to a partially self-funded plan with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Also making some plan adjustments to the PPO plans, the co-insurance, and co-payments. We do ask that we hold the premium contributions for 2023 to 2024 with a 0% increase to the employees. We would also like to say that you have budgeting, as budgeting develops, we do have the option to explore additional options in April or whenever you guys set your budget. So we can mess around with the budget at that time versus you would have to wait till next renewal to work on the budget. Okay. Do you guys have any questions?
Questions, council? No, doesn't sound like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to, just ask council, are there any objections to moving towards a self-funded plan? Does anybody have any objections to that?
What was our total contribution one more time? What would we have to pay out?
1.7 something, basically 1.8.
That's next fiscal year, is that correct?
Well, calendar year.
Calendar year.
All right, well, having heard none, we will continue to work
You
on
want
it.
to do a motion?
No, but I would entertain a motion to go ahead and move forward with this.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion regarding the motion, the second? And the motion is to move towards a self-funded plan. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, council.
Last is an ordinance authorizing a memorandum of understanding between the City of Sedalia, the Personnel Department, and Bothwell Regional Health Center for direct bill services. I'd like to invite Shannon for any explanations or questions.
All right, good evening. With the direct bills of services, this would actually be for work comp. Currently, right now, Bothwell does not participate with the one-call service that MEM does, so Bothwell is not in the network for our work comp. We have spoken with Bothwell. They're going to offer us Medicare rate pricing, which would be great. And so we would like to see if we could go ahead and move forward with partnering with Bothwell for our work comp services, MRIs, anything like that that's currently not within, like I said, the One Calls network. So bring business back here into the city, as well as obviously help the hospital and keep everything a little bit more local for our employees instead of having to go all over town, outside of town.
Thank you, Director Amy Kroll.
Thank you.
Call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2023-190, an ordinance authorizing a memorandum of understanding by and between the City of Sedalia, Missouri Personnel Department and Bothwell Regional Health Center for direct bill services.
Second reading.
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the motion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
Well,
What? Bill number 2023-190, an ordinance authorizing a memorandum of understanding by and between the City of Sedalia, Missouri Personnel Department and Bothwell Regional Health Center for direct bill services.
Final passage.
Second.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross is absent. Foster.
Yes.
Bliss. Yes. Robinson is absent. Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
6 yes, 2 absent.
Ordinance passes, and I would like to thank council for that previously. Those employees were being sent to another hospital, so this brings that to the Sedalia Hospital, Sedalia Bothwell Hospital, so I greatly appreciate that.
That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Marshall. Up next, we have Public Safety. Vice Chairman Bliss, you have the floor.
I have, just the pleasure to turn this over to Chief Worth and Officer Sylvia, and they've got a presentation, Safe Coalition presentation, I think, keeps blinking on and off. Well, we're getting there. There it is. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, well, good evening. We're going to talk tonight about the SAFE Coalition and what that means and what we hope to bring to the community. So what is SAFE? So this is our acronym that Corporal Sylvia has thought up for what we'd like to do with, and this has to do with traffic safety and highway safety and roadway safety in our community. So it's Safety Advocates for Everyone. So what is our SAFE purpose? So what we have is our idea to identify existing and potential safety hazards for both the motoring public and pedestrians. As you guys are familiar, we have a lot of grants going on right now, not only within the police department with enforcement and promoting highway safety or roadway safety in that manner, but also some of the projects the city is working on with sidewalks and also some of the engineering projects that we have going on. This is something to build on that and also create more advocates within our community. So we want to get all the parties together in the same room for a smart problem solving. And we'll go over that here in a second because that has to do with, as you guys are familiar, I'm big on solving problems, getting a resolution to a problem. We want to have an open line of communication between all agencies. So it's not only within the city, but it's within the partners that we're going to talk about here. Because ultimately, and I'll probably say this again through this, we want to build advocacy in our community to fight for our needs with engineering and design within our community. That's the end goal. We'll start off with smaller things, but think of it from that perspective. So we want to also extend the scope beyond some of the existing committees and commissions that we have to look at it from a bigger perspective of not just these smaller problems. Let's say, for example, a stop sign. That kind of is a much larger thing as we currently approach it. That should be something that staff looks at and handles, makes a recommendation, because that's what we do every day. And the purpose behind this is to look at the bigger projects. So we want to work together to make Sedalia safer for everyone. So I talked about the smart problem solving and where we're moving with that. So we want to look at specific problems. When we talk about crime resolution, we're not just talking about, for example, we've got a drug problem, right? We want to look at the specific problem. What is our specific drug problem? This is the same thing. So like we would look at a neighborhood with resolving a problem. We want to look at what is our specific problem within the community or within the highway safety and roadway safety. We want to measure it. You know, the police department keeps a lot of statistics. MoDOT keeps a lot of statistics. We can do a lot of statistics with the measuring devices and things that Public Works has. So we want to measure that. We want to determine what our problem is, and it may involve an engineer, it may involve all kinds of people, but we want to measure that. Then we want to put together something, and we want to focus on taking action. You know, you guys have probably heard me say before too, we can't enforce ourselves out of a problem. The same thing can be said about a problem with a roadway or a safety hazard or something like that. We could put police officers there all the time, and it may solve the problem while the police officer is there. And it may get some of the public conditioned to think about that problem and so slow down. But if we change the design, if we solve the problem with the intersection, the roadway, that sort of thing, we now have a resolution and a long-term resolution to it so that officers are now able to go do something else. But it really actually reduces the problem. Relevant is that we've got to make sure that the problems that we're working on and the things that we're focusing on are relevant to a problem. Sometimes we can get caught up in the weeds about things that, again, staff can handle. And we want to be timely. We don't want our projects to linger on for days, months, years, and things like that. We want to put this resolution together and start working on it. So who is safe? So this is not a limited list. These are people that we're thinking about should be involved in it. Obviously, the city of Sedalia, and that would involve all our departments within the city, the police department, fire department, public works, and any other department that might have to do with some problem that we're working on. The school district is another big partner that we can have, and you'll see when Corporal Sylvie talks about some of the organizations on the student level that we want to get involved. But again, if you remember, I'm talking about building advocates in our community to work towards things. The school district is a good advocate, but also they're out there just like the police in a sense. They've got kids getting on buses. They've got kids walking to school. There's a lot of people that are in the school district that are going to school every day. MoDOT obviously is going to be one of the players in the room. And when we talk about one of the coalitions that's already going, you'll see the ability to bring them in, hopefully, to this process. Obviously, we've got private schools, the bus transportation company, the ambulance district, and this can go on quite a bit. And the coalition that we've had experience with, it's the partners that you have in your community. It's not a specific list, but these are, again, the bigger ones. So why do we need this? Some good examples of what we've had in the last few years that really are really examples of things that we can work with and work on and use examples in the future. So in 2020, we had a school crossing guard that was struck by a vehicle while actively helping children move across the road. She was seriously injured. We're blessed that she has recovered from that injury. In 2021, we had a student that was killed while attempting to cross a roadway here in Sedalia. We also have had numerous documented hazardous moving violations in school zones and secondary roadways. You guys as council members, I'm sure, get the comments from your folks in your ward about a speeding situation or some sort of complaint about a roadway problem. So our single branch solutions, they're not going to cut it. We have to have numerous steps to get this problem solved. So one example to give you some numbers on some of the things that we've started working on. So we did a school zone enforcement project in 21 and 22 during that school year. There was not a lot of dates in this that we did it, but there was 107 traffic stops, 7 arrests, 32 citations, and a DWI arrest. A lot of people think drunk people aren't driving around in the day. Yes, they are, in some form or fashion, intoxication. So we plan to try to get that going again this school year. So here's another example of why safe. Think about some of these numbers. So let me first start off with, a lot of people come to visit Sedalia, right? They come to the Heckert Center, they go to college here, they come to the Missouri State Fair. They come here for a reason. We don't want them to experience a crash while they're here. We don't want them to meet the police department, the fire department, the ambulance district as their first experience within our community. We want them to have a safe experience. And these people are coming here in their vehicles. That's how they get here. So in the last 5 years, or I should say not completely 5 years, but from October of 2018 to August of 23, there's been 4,386 crashes. There's been 1,380 people injured. There's been 81 disabling injuries, 6 fatalities, and this is something that we want to focus on. 9,940 people were involved in those accidents. They were the driver, the passenger, occupant, pedestrian, bicyclist. They were in one of the vehicles involved in the crash. Almost 10,000 people were involved in a crash in Sedalia. That was another crime. We would probably be even more worried about it. But we don't have to have the acceptance of, well, it's a crash, they happen. We can work towards reducing those. And again, one of the grants that Public Works is working on right now involves our vulnerable drivers. There's been 71 of those in the last 5 years, and then 220 involving commercial motor vehicles. So I'm going to hand it over to Corporal Sylvie to talk to you about the Harrisonville Coalition. We had a video, but it actually takes a little while, so but he is going to explain what that coalition is, a little bit about it. We'll give you the Reader's Digest version.
I'll give it to you the best that I can. So Harrisonville, Missouri was the first to do one of these coalitions, and I'll try to get through this relatively quick because we're not here to talk about Harrisonville, we're here to talk about Sedalia. So what they did, though, is they had a student that got killed a few years ago, and they said, we've got to do something. This can't happen in our community, and I agree with that 100%. We're having way too many issues. And I can tell everybody here, as boots on the ground, working crashes every day, our speeds and our severity are getting worse and worse. I'm telling you, take my word for it. If you need the data, I'll give it to you. People are driving faster and driving more distracted than they ever have. And I live on a farm. Sometimes when you want people to do what you want them to do, enforcement can only go so far. We need to look at engineering. We need to look at how do we make it safer as officials. So that's kind of where this is going. So Harrisonville gets together and they decide this is never going to happen in our community again. So they started bringing the school district into their talks. They brought other entities into their talks, and they started really small, which is what I'm going to propose we do. And I've got a really good idea for a small example. One of the things that I like to tap into is our resources that we don't have. First Student is a resource that, how many buses do they have driving around the city all day, all evening? What those drivers see and probably have knowledge of issues in our community, I would love to sit at the table with them and to learn about that. But they probably look at it and go, man, That's going to get somebody hurt, and they drive right on the route. And that's nothing fault. So Harrisonville got all those entities together, and they started small, and they got bigger, and then they got MoDOT's attention, and then they got these people's attention. Next thing you know, we're at a meeting with 40 people sitting in a room, and they're in the school district so deep that they've got engineering students in their school designing new intersections and designing new parking lots and designing ADA compliant aspects of the city. So now their chief and their engineering students are on first name basis, laughing it up, having a great time, and solving problems at the same time. They came together in a way that I know we can do here, and we already kind of do. I mean, we all get along really well in this town, so that we're poised to do something like that. So that's a really nutshell version, but the nice part about that is that it got the attention of large agencies. MoDOT is a good friend of mine in terms of highway safety. They stepped in and went, wow, you guys are doing something kind of cool. You want some money for that? You know what I mean? It worked because they were producing. They were using smart problem solving. So I'm going to skip past that video. It's like a 4-minute video and just to save time here. So what it looks like, we kind of already discussed a little bit about that. Harrisonville does meetings every 6 weeks. We're not here to hammer on, we got to be every 2 weeks sitting down and getting things done, but we also don't want a long length of time. They settled on 6 weeks. It seems to work for them. We can hold it at the training room. We can hold it in here. We can hold it at Fidelity 200. I want everybody that would be involved with this to feel as important as everybody else, because there is no one entity that would be in this coalition that's more important than the other.
Officer Sully, just before you move on.
Yes, sir.
And I think this, I wouldn't mind seeing the video. I don't know, would council like to see that video if we have it available? We can make the time for that. I mean, especially given what we had happen on Friday with the car.
And that is becoming more commonplace. And I'm here to tell you, we've got a growing problem. I mean, fatals across the state are up significantly.
Would council object to taking 4 minutes to watch the video by chance? I hate to break the rhythm you got going.
No, it's fine with me. I don't think, I've not seen it.
You've got it, I don't know.
You got it?
I can lead you right to it if you need.
The first version had it, but the newer version.
It's okay if we don't have it, but.
I'm sorry, so you can see what they've done, and it's inspiring. I'm here to tell you that when I first saw the presentation, it was at the Highway Safety conference 2 years ago, and I was like, we got to do that. It was inspiring because we've got way too many issues that are going. So.
Coalition.
Kelly's got it.
Kelly's can tell you go back.
Push on it over. Point it at Kelly.
See it?
Doing
You know what, they may not be. Yeah, I mean.
No, you're fine. Well, we'll make sure council gets that video, to you.
It's worth the watch.
Yeah. I watched it, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yes, I know Administrator Shaw has seen it, and it's really neat how they've come together and they've really taken control of their community and to see how they interact in that room. And kind of going back to, they have an agenda, they stick to that agenda. This isn't, we get everybody together and we all talk about our problems, and not that there's something wrong with that, but it's not smart. It's not problem-oriented problem solving. So we would have a specific agenda. Each entity would bring their agenda item just like a council meeting. And we're going to identify and move through it efficiently so we're not all sitting around talking about. So complaint and data driven, that's the one thing we really want to hammer on. I know that Chief Word here talks a lot about, data driven approaches to problems, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at, we're working on some programs right now, some software to have heat maps to see where our problems are, where our injuries are occurring, and we're not going to, I don't want to sound bad, but we're not going to waste time over here in the green areas. We need to focus on these higher intersections. That's where we're going to attack them. And we're going to do that with MoDOT, and we're going to do that with our other entities. So I call it the safe place to start. And I want you to keep in mind that I gave this an acronym because I want it to be a living, breathing intimate, something that I can take, something I can take into the school district, and we're going to have Sedalia Safe. This is Sedalia Safe. Let's make some T-shirts. Let's make a cool campaign off Sedalia Safe. Let's stay Sedalia Safe. We can use it in public relations. We can use it on social media, however we want to do it. The city of Sedalia reminds everybody to be Sedalia Safe, whatever. And so it needs to be something that we can market and we can brand. And that's where this comes from. And that's what Harrisonville did. And they've got pins and shirts. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Posters and all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to go over an example project, a very simple thing that I'd really like to do sooner than later. And I think we're going to see some really cool results out of it. And it's going to bring a lot of entities to the table a lot more quicker than we would expect. And that's going to be a tree trimming type line of sight project. And we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. And that's going to rely heavily on First Student. I can't wait. I know I kind of harp on them, but I cannot wait to hear what those drivers have to say about our community because they see it from a whole different perspective than we do. And so I'm very eager to hear that. And we'll start our priority list. We're going to sit with you all. We're going to sit with everybody. And what's our priority? Where are we going to start? And then obviously social media and public relations. I talked about that. So some enforcement campaigns that we can do because, again, we talk about multifaceted. This isn't me as a cop up here saying, I don't want to go out and make traffic stops anymore. I just want to design the roadway and such. I don't have to do it anymore. That's not what we're talking about. I still have to go out and make traffic stops. So I'm looking at doing a stop arm violation enforcement campaign where we put cops on the buses and we get violators off that. We're going to do another school zone enforcement. We're still going to do our job as enforcement because that's what we have to do. That's our job. But we got to look at it from several different angles. One thing I'm really excited about is the Traction team. Has anybody heard of Traction by chance? Traction is a group sponsored by Highway Safety, who I'm good friends with all the people that run that, and they're chomping at the bit to get in our school district. When they come into our school districts, they create a Traction team of students, and then those students are sent to handle problems, whether it's Tiger Pride, speeding on Tiger Pride. They do other schools will do seatbelt, what's the word I'm looking for, seatbelt surveys, and then do seatbelt campaigns in the school. And it's students taking ownership of their school. And what was really cool, and I think it was Jackson, Missouri, their high school students then went into another campaign called Smart Riders for grade school, and they were handling a Smart Rider program for the grade school. So it had the high school kids getting with the grade school kids. It's just a way to give some ownership to our students in this community, because we have some bright kids, and the stuff that they came up with to do in these schools was brilliant. And they showed data that they reduced crashes, they increased seatbelt use, and they can make it work. I mean, give a teenager a direction and they're going to go. So, and then we're going to talk about our mock crash. They call it docudramas through the state. And that is something that Fire Department Inspector Jamie Volk has been doing for several years. He does a lot of great work with the school. And I jump in when I can. And every 2 years we hold a mock crash. We're getting ready to do one in 2024, and we're going to go out of the park with it. We're going to turn it into a big event. Last year, or the year before last year, I did a rollover crash. We had people in the rollover car. It was cool, and students love it. We have great reception from that stuff. So we're going to build off these things, and we're going to bring attention to them. We're going to reach out to other entities. I'm going to invite Highway Safety. Everybody's going to be invited to this next one, because I want them to see the good things that we're doing and the good things that Mr. Volk is doing. The coalition would allow us to expand on this awareness event. And what I mean by that is that's going to bring MoDOT, Highway Safety. I'm going to invite every contact that I've made through my career to these things to start growing them. How are we going to make it better? How are we going to make it bigger? How are we going to bring more awareness to these kids? And then hopefully it's going to open up resources for funding, because all I can say is that when we went to Harrisonville and we went to the one random meeting, not planned, they didn't know, oh, Chief Wirt's going to be there. We better bring everybody in from the state and show them how cool we are. That was not a deal. It was a normal meeting. And they had high-ranking officials from MoDOT sitting in that meeting because they're invested in that coalition. And they're there at a meeting. That's a big deal to have the assistant director to Highway Safety sitting in a room like that. They're invested in these things, and they want to fund programs that are successful. So that's going to be the big thing. It would be successful. So guest speakers, I'm working on some of that. Highway Safety has a funded guest speaker named Kara Filler. I'm looking at bringing her in this year. She's nationally renowned. I'm going to invite some of you folks to come watch her presentation at the school when I do make that happen, because we're going to make it happen. We're going to get in there, and I say this not in a bad way, be in the kids' face. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I want safety to be on their mind all the time. That's set for April 2024. This is a picture of the mock crash from 2022. This is the car that fire department mangled, because they love to do that. And then here's our rollover car. It was a great time. I genuinely enjoy that event. I think we have one of the best in the state, and we're going to keep making it better and better. Here's the traction video, and I sent this to you. The link is down below, so we can copy and paste that if it doesn't play. But this one's YouTube, so it should play. It's like a 1-minute quick little video to show you what the kids do. Do I hit OK? Enhance. There we go. Look at that, because I'm working.
Traction is a youth traffic safety leadership program. That's an opportunity for students to come and make a change in the school and community.
Traction is special because I think it gives teens the opportunity to learn something new about highway safety that they didn't learn before and take
Traction is a youth traffic safety leadership program. That's an opportunity for students to come and make a change in the school and community.
Traction is special because I think it gives teens the opportunity to learn something new about highway safety.
Traction is a youth traffic safety leadership program. That's an opportunity for students to come and make a change in the school and community.
Traction is special because I think it gives teens the opportunity to learn something new about highway safety that they didn't learn before and take it back to their community. And I think it really gives them a passion for saving lives. I love Traction because of the people, because of the community that we created a Traction family. I think what really makes Traction stand out compared to others, this is my 19th year, and this is by far the best conference that I've taken students to. And I think because they do have that ability to build connections with students, and they can see how they can really make a difference. I think the biggest thing that teens take away from this program is not only the awareness of how bad it really is losing people in their community by just a simple thing is not buckling up, but I think the overall best thing is that they've now learned what to do about it and how to fix it and how to bring awareness to it in their own community.
It's made me feel bigger than I am. It makes me know that I can make an impact.
Doctor, today I've got something really good brewing off to the side that kind of came up this last week or so that I'm going to present. But she's in charge of the program. Basically, they take their team of students, they go to a week-long conference, they team build, they learn how to work on engineering issues, they learn how to start addressing this. So that's kind of an overview of the program. So this is I'm going to not spend a lot of time on this. The Odessa, Missouri Traction Team is one of the most successful in the state. They conduct seatbelt checks. They do fake tickets for offenders on their road. It's kind of funny. They give out candy for people who aren't wearing seatbelts. They give out dum-dums, and then they give out other candy to people wearing the seatbelt. So that's what the kids came up with. They coordinate the Smart Riders program. They help with their mock crash. They coordinate guest speakers. They do awareness campaigns. They print posters. They're in the bathrooms. They attend coalition meetings. Traction is kind of a separate entity from our coalition, but it's a branch that's going to come off of it. And then one of the teams was called, their mascot was the Tigers, which I thought was funny. So they called their team the Tigers in Traffic, TNT, Team TNT. And so that was something they branded themselves. So it gives the kids the ability to really take ownership and do what they want with it. So do you want to take over on goals or?
So some of our goals with this is obviously to obtain some federal and state funding for the coalition that may not be attainable through other means. This is something that we've never tried here in our community, and it's a different a different theory and a different attack on the problem. We want to maintain a success log for media and performance measurements. We want folks to be involved, and again, we want the attention here, positive attention that we're trying to make a difference. And again, bringing all our folks in the community to be an advocate. Everybody knows me and knows I'm blunt. We can all, just as a group, we try to advocate for the city or advocate for ourselves. What better way to do it than advocate as an entire community? It's just not us as the mayor or a councilman approaching some of these committees and some of these folks. It's our entire community that comes together to approach it. We get more people's attention that way. We, of course, want to reduce crashes and related injuries in the city of Sedalia. We want to promote and encourage safe driving for our teen population. One of the things that I was thinking about when we were going through just that right now is, phones have become more and more of a problem. It's probably contributed to a lot of the recent events that we've all seen. The state has passed a law to prevent that. At some point, we have to draw a line and we have to, in a sense, intervene with our population and what they're doing. What better way to do that with teenagers? To try to stop that way that teenagers are doing, stop that culture, that our culture becomes that I'm going to put my phone down and I'm going to drive my car and I'm going to pay attention to it. Because as Corporal Sylvie said, we're seeing more and more distracted driving. So we've got to break that cycle. This is one of the ways that we hope to try to break it. It's not the only way, but it's a good way. We want to think outside the box for roadway safety, looking outward. Again, we hope there's ideas that we haven't thought of that comes together with this group. And we, of course, want to work together for a safer Sedalia, or throwing that safe idea out. Hours, weeks, years, and decades of work are worth one life potential, right? That at this time and this effort that we put into it, if it saves one life, we obviously hope it does more. And we may never be able to measure how many lives it saves. And I hope that's the case, because we want to reduce those numbers and those crashes. So some of the things that we've talked about with this and is popular in this is a community safety liaison. So they're going to be part of the public outreach program. So research safety concerns across the city, work with community leaders to solve the problems, plan these special events and oversee the success, research for grants affecting public safety. That's not only within, in a sense, law enforcement, but throughout the city and the community. We also can work together as department heads for internal safety, making sure our folks, are wearing our vest, such as our traffic safety vest, using all the different safety things that we have in our vehicles, and using those procedures to reduce not only in the public, but setting that example, but reduce injuries within our own organization. And of course, do some overseeing of in-house training. We've already done some of this already. The police department is involved in some of the supervisor training to detect drugs, and we'd be happy to be involved in more of that. But those don't always have to be department specific. If we have someone that is a specialist in all of these things, for example, I hate to throw him on the spot, but some of his expertise, he's given some presentation, and I believe he's got a couple more coming up, to different organizations throughout the city that may want to talk about recognizing someone that is high or something like that is impaired. Those are the things that we can outreach to different civic and public organizations within our community that can spread the word and be a part of this coalition, if nothing more than through their support. So, any questions about our Be Safe coalition?
Any questions, Council? Comment? Really proud of you guys. Officer Sylvie, your enthusiasm shows, Chief. You may not know the number of lives you'll save, but you'll save a lot. I just can't tell you how proud I am of you taking this initiative, and I compliment you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. I might entertain a motion in a second to go ahead and move forward with this coalition idea and have a show of support.
Motion to move forward.
Second. Any discussion regarding the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. We'll begin to move forward with it.
Who's that guy? He tested positive for COVID.
See, I believe that's everything.
I'm done, yes, thank you.
All right. Mr. Mayor, I yield the floor. Thank you, Vice Chairman Bliss. Next, we have Public Works. Chairman Oldham, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Tonight starts what I officially like to call budget season. And we start that with our strategic planning presentations. From tonight till around January, when we do our work session, we will start hearing from department heads about their accomplishments of the last fiscal year and their goals for the next one and what they would like to see accomplished by themselves and by staff and by city council. First up tonight is from our cemetery director, Roger Waters.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Being the director of Crown Hill Cemetery, we are serving the people of Sedalia, Pettis County, and surrounding areas. And when I go into surrounding areas, it's really amazing me here lately how far we're going out. I was dealing with a family today from out of the state of Ohio to bring burials back to Sedalia, families that have lived here in the past. So this is, and we've dealt with this in the past, but it just never ceases to amaze me how many are still coming back. We're providing a casket and cremation burials in ground and both above ground with our columbariums that we have installed. Since Crown Hill was founded in February of 1866, as of today, 24,824 burials. We've had 102 burials through September of this year. We've sold 59 grave lots and 17 niches. Personnel that works for us at the cemetery, we set military government markers for our veterans, and we also oversee monument companies that set headstones to ensure the proper location and footings for the size of the headstone. This is very important that down the road, that with the proper footing in place, that our policies that we have now, that we don't have to go back and work on them in 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road because they were set right. There's been a total of 79 headstones set through this month, 12 military markers set. During the spring and summer, fall months, we're mowing approximately 70 acres each week, probably just a little over that. Bagging the grass and leaves when needed. Wintertime, we're straightening headstones, weather permitting. We're trimming trees, working on mowing equipment, clearing roadways of snow when needed. We also own Hebrew Cemetery, which is over on South Grand. It's been turned over to the city since 2001. Currently, 235 people are buried in this cemetery. As of this morning, I set up a service for next week. Calvary Cemetery lies within Crown Hill. It's maintained by our personnel. We do the burials there also. We don't sell the grave lots in Calvary, but we have the opening and closing fees that are set by the city, and they also pay us a monthly fee to maintain those grounds. Calvary was founded in 1868, 2 years behind Crown Hill. There's 3,924 people buried there through the month of September of this year. Our strategies are going to look at plotting out some new aerials for burials and new roads in the next few years. We approximately have 2,000 graves left to sell in the new addition area of the cemetery. Some of these are not the best lots in that figure right there because of water issues and things like that next to roadway ditches, which we've made quite a bit of improvement on, can still make a little more. The columbarium that was installed in 2019 that had the 64 niches in it, currently 58 of them have been sold through this month. The new columbarium that we ordered last year in July, that was in last year's budget, we installed that in March of 23. We've sold 5 of them so far since March. The property that the city purchased in 2021 that lies west of Veterans Memorial Drive, west of where the office is located. This is part of an area that we would like to make into a cremation area because of the trees and everything that are there would make it easier than digging for full-size casket burials. Would like to put some walking trails in this area if at all possible. We've got water issues that we'll have to deal with that it drains from the east and from the north also that goes in there. We'll do some changing up on that, how that flows. Trying to clean this area, dealings and mischief that goes on down there. Today, PD is totally thrilled that we get this cleaned up, that it's going to stop a lot of problems that they have down in that area. Our Public Works Department started back when we purchased this through the winter of 21 and 22, trying to help us clean this up. We currently have not made a lot of progress on this, getting it cleaned up because of other projects that the Public Works Department is responsible for doing. So at this point, I'm working on some figures for our upcoming budget from an outside source in order for them to come in and help clear this area and get it to where that our crew at the cemetery can maintain this grounds and make it, look nice. We want to make it look like a cemetery. Would like to make it look more like a park setting in there and get rid of all the underbrush and things that are causing all these other issues. In that area also, would also like to look at trying to put in a committal shelter. If you don't know what a committal shelter is, this is basically, it's a pavilion on a concrete pad that provides temporary shelter in, from the rain, snow, wind, things like that, and we could seat approximately 20, 25 people. We could actually do a committal internment service right there on the grounds. I think the setting on this would be great, and try to start getting away from, in the future, doing the committal services right on the side of the grave, which is going to make it a little bit safer, especially in inclement weather. So these are a few things that I'm going to bring forward in our budget this year with a few numbers on that to try to improve some of those things, that those are what we're looking at doing.
Any questions, council? Thank you, Director Waters.
Good.
Thank you, Roger.
Second item I have tonight is the acceptance of a quote. It was budgeted to purchase a new heavy-duty pickup truck for the street department, but thanks to Chief Work, he has found a pre-owned 2020 F-250 that the Missouri State Highway Patrol is selling at the cost of $34,000.
All right, we have one ordinance written in relation to this matter. Call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2023-191. An ordinance approving and accepting the quote for the purchase of a used 2020 Ford F-250 for the street department.
Second reading.
Second. Any council discussion regarding the ordinance? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2023-191. An ordinance approving and accepting the quote for the purchase of a used 2020 Ford F-250 for the street department.
Final passage.
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the passage of the ordinance? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Gilbert.
Yeah.
Cross is absent. Foster.
Yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson is absent. Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
6 yes, 2 absent.
Third item I have tonight is an item that we get to fortunately receive every year, and this is the cost sharing agreement with the Missouri Department of Conservation for our TRIM grant. TRIM stands for the Tree Resource Improvement and Maintenance Cost Share Program. We're receiving $10,000 to re-inventory our trees in the right-of-way.
Call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2023-192. An ordinance authorizing a cost-sharing agreement for a tree resource improvements and maintenance trim grant.
Second reading.
Second. Any council discussion regarding the motion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, council.
Bill number 2023-192. An ordinance authorizing a cost-share agreement for a tree resource improvement and maintenance trim grant.
Final passage.
Second. Any council discussion regarding the final passage of the ordinance? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Cross is absent. Foster.
Yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson is absent. Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
6 yes, 2 absent.
Ordinance passes.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Chairman Oldham. Up next, we have Community Development. Chairwoman Foster, you have the floor.
Thank you. Tonight we have 5 items, first of which is an annexation. Petition was received from the owners of the property for voluntary annexation of the property located at the corner of 16th Street and Water Tower Road. In accordance with state statutes, we held a public hearing at our last meeting. The hearing was to hear from any interested parties on the appropriateness of the annexation. No comments were received during the hearing, and none since then. Now that the required 14-day waiting period after the hearing has expired, we can consider adoption of the ordinance to conclude the annexation.
All right. We have one ordinance in relation to this matter. Call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2023-193. An ordinance of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, approving and annexing an unincorporated area owned by Jeff Prefford, managing member of Hellman Drive LLC, a Missouri Limited Liability Company, into the City of Sedalia, Missouri, adjacent and contiguous to existing corporate limits of said city.
Second reading.
Second. Any council discussion regarding the motion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2023-193. An ordinance of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, approving and annexing an unincorporated area owned by Jeff Refford, managing member of Hellman Drive LLC, a Missouri Limited Liability Company, into the City of Sedalia, Missouri, adjacent and contiguous to existing corporate limits of said city.
Final passage.
Second. Any council discussion regarding the final passage of this ordinance? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Foster.
Yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson is absent. Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
And Cross is absent. 6 yes, 2 absent.
Ordinance passes. Kelvin, do you mind going back to the, I just got a point of information on the map with regards to that property? So I've received several complaints regarding the right-of-way that extends right there along West 16th Street. And part of that was trying to figure out whose right-of-way that was to maintain. There's a ditch there that has become overgrown. I've contacted Jill Bruss, the interim engineer at MoDOT. So that is their right-of-way to maintain that goes along there. I've offered to help in any way that we can in order to clear those line-of-sight issues. I made that offer to Jill, but haven't heard anything back. But I just wanted to let everybody know that that is their right-of-way that runs through there. So, back to you, Chairman, or Chairwoman.
Thank you. Second item this evening is city code amendment for floodplain management. Of course, as discussed at the beginning of the meeting, the flood zone maps have been updated. This ordinance for consideration updates the city code and reference these maps to facilitate participation in the flood insurance program.
Call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2023-194. An ordinance amending the city's ordinances regarding floodplain management.
Second reading.
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the motion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2023-194. An ordinance amending the city's ordinances regarding floodplain management.
Final passage.
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the final passage of this ordinance? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson is absent. Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross is absent. And Foster.
Yes.
6 yes, 2 absent.
The third item this evening, we are going to delay to the next meeting, but we were presented with a petition at the last meeting asking us to look at implementing one-way streets aimed at increasing parking availability and improving traffic flow safety. In response, council adopted a motion to direct staff to study this proposal and bring back thoughts for further discussion and consideration. Public Works Director Davies has been on a vacation and will continue to be out through tonight. So we have not had time to fully study this concept, and I'd like for him to be available for this discussion with us for his expertise and experience in this area. Therefore, I'd like to delay this discussion until the next meeting so that we can all discuss and prepare effectively.
I will now entertain a motion to postpone this matter to the next meeting.
Motion to postpone to next meeting.
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the motion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, council.
Let's see, fourth item, a budget amendment and quote from Kansas Highway Patrol on a 2020 Ford F-150 responder. And let's see, as we discussed earlier in this meeting, availability of new replacement trucks have been scarce. Chief Wharton has developed a relationship with the Missouri and Kansas Highway Patrol so that they alert him when they're selling their used vehicles. The Kansas Highway Patrol has a vehicle for sale that would make a suitable replacement for an aging pickup used in the facility's maintenance department. The cost of a 2020 model F-150 with just under 50,000 miles is $31,500. This item was not anticipated in this year's budget, so we recommend approval of the budget amendment to appropriate the funds and then approval of the purchase.
Okay, we have, one resolution and two ordinances in relation to this budget amendment and subsequent purchase. We'll start with the resolution. Call for the reading of the resolution.
Resolution 2059, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, stating facts and reasons for the necessity to amend and increase the city's annual budget for fiscal year 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the motion and second?
I have a question for Chief Wertz.
Okay.
Chief, I read in my paper here that this truck used to be a Kansas Highway Patrol. Was it a pursuit vehicle?
It was a patrol vehicle. Sorry. It was a patrol vehicle that they used. So,
Well, my question is, does it have too much of an engine to be running around town to do maintenance?
well, it is the same engine that you would buy in a F-150 now. It's the EcoBoost, which I think is a pretty popular engine in those trucks. It's the same engine that's in the truck that we purchased for the cemetery.
Okay.
Any other council discussion?
The only reason I ask that is because I know the performance motors used to be a lot more than what you would drive around town.
Right. I can't 100% answer that it is higher or lower than a regular truck, but I do know that we have purchased another one, and so far, what was that, a couple of months ago? Maybe time gets away from me, but for the cemetery.
A couple of them.
Yeah, so we've done good so far.
Any further council discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The resolution passes. Up next, we have the first ordinance in relation to this matter. Call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2023-195, ordinance amending the budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024 regarding building maintenance truck purchase.
Second reading?
Any council discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, council.
Bill number 2023-195, an ordinance amending the budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024 regarding building maintenance truck purchase.
Final passage.
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the final passage of this ordinance? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Robinson is absent. Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
August?
Yes.
Hiller? Yes. Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
6 yes, 2 absent.
Now we have the second and final ordinance in relation to this matter. Call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2023-196, an ordinance approving and accepting a quote for the purchase of a 2020 Ford F-150 for building maintenance.
Second reading.
Second.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2023-196, an ordinance approving and accepting a quote for the purchase of a 2020 Ford F-150 for building maintenance.
Final passage?
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the final passage of this ordinance? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
August?
Yes.
Hiller? Yes. Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson's absent. 6 yes, 2 absent.
And the fifth item for this evening is a budget amendment and addition of 2 positions for community development. With the resignation of the community development administrative assistant, we analyzed the position and determined that some restructuring would make some functions more efficient and allow for more growth. Community Development Director John Simmons has requested more assistance, particularly with grant writing and management. Additionally, with one position, coverage during absences or even lunches created a loss of continuity and levels of training for certain these functions, while also being a less than optimal use of other individuals' time. For the purposes of transparency and proper oversight, Council has expressed their desire to review and formally approve any new job descriptions. For this purpose, pass drafted job descriptions along with the associated budget amendment for these changes.
Okay, we have one resolution and two ordinances in relation to the addition of this position. Call for the reading of the resolution first.
Resolution 2060, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, stating facts and reasons for the necessity to amend and increase the city's annual budget for fiscal year 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the resolution? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, council. Now we'll call for the reading of the first ordinance in relation to this matter.
Bill number 2023-197, an ordinance amending the budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024 regarding addition of administrative assistant and community development.
Second reading.
Second.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2023-197, an ordinance amending the budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024 regarding addition of administrative assistant and community development.
Final passage.
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the final passage of this ordinance? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller? Yes. Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson is absent. And Oldham?
Yes.
6 yes, 2 absent.
Ordinance passes. Now we have the second and final ordinance in relation to this matter. Call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2023-198, an ordinance amending ordinance number 9940 by adding a new classification and job description for administrative assistant and by amending an existing classification and job description for permanent technician for the city of Sedalia, Missouri.
Second reading.
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the motion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2023-198, an ordinance amending ordinance number 9940 by adding a new classification and job description for administrative assistant and by amending an existing classification and job description for permit technician for the city of Sedalia, Missouri.
Final passage.
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the final passage of this ordinance? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller? Yes. Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson is absent. Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
6 yes, 2 absent.
All right.
That's it for us.
Thank you, Chairwoman Foster.
Thank you.
Up next, we have other business. Under appointments, we have one resignation, one appointment. Call for the reading of the resignation.
We have a resignation from Chris Rippey from the tree board effective immediately.
I entertain a motion to second this up.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, council.
And then we have one new appointment to members of the city council from Mayor Andrew Dawson, new appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission and Graff, 4-year term expiring June 2027.
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, council. Up next, we have the liquor licenses. Call for the reading of the liquor licenses.
We have 5 renewals tonight. Janice Ulmer doing business at Sedalia Elks Lodge number 125 at 320 South Kentucky for liquor by the drink and Sunday sales. Paul Bykirk doing business with County Distributing Company Incorporated, 1800 Eagle View Drive for wholesale beer only. Kevin Long doing business with Loyal Order of Moose number 1494 at 119 Winchester Drive for liquor by the drink and Sunday sales. Jennifer Edwards doing business as End Zone Sports Bar and Grill LLC at 3129 West Broadway, liquor by the drink and Sunday sales. And Minerva M. Perez doing business as El Tapatio LLC at 3000 South Lemon for liquor by the drink and Sunday sales.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, council. Next item is any miscellaneous items from the city council or city administrator. Do you guys have any miscellaneous items you'd like to address?
Just like to remind everybody that the last first Thursday of the season is this Thursday, so get out and enjoy that, and then we'll start them again next spring. But, after that, of course, we get to homecoming, and then we'll work into the holidays, Halloween at the hall, and then Thanksgiving will be not too long after that, and then we'll be right into Christmas season, so coming up quick.
Your Honor, I'd just like to say thank you, to First Ward and Second Ward councilmen that covered me at break time last weekend when the church was giving away free gas. I appreciate you guys showing that, in lieu of me going crazy and doing other stuff that weekend. Also like to say thank you to those that attended our pastor's appreciation that Saturday night. It was a great turnout. Everything went very well. Also want to put it out there that I will be asking people to give me suggested dates for the George Smith dedication. That's up and running. Where's John? That's up and going, and we're almost ready to unveil that so that the people will know where that George Smith College was here in Sedalia.
Yeah, that was a great event that True Line put on. I think they ended up giving away $2,000 for gas. Well, I think he kicked in another 20, so it's $2,020.
That sounds
Somebody
like.
was a little upset they didn't get their gas, so he came into his own pocket for that. That was great.
I just want to say to the mayor and to Chris Marshall for coming out and helping me Saturday with the DARE card. They had little cards that we had to sign under the DARE. And I kept track of, I signed 231 autographs that day. I was at the state fair and signing autographs as a grand marshal and only signed 205. So it was well attended by the citizens of Sedalia. And, I don't think I have anything left. I didn't bring any T-shirts back or cups or, anyway, it was an enjoyable day, and I appreciate all the help.
Yeah, that was a Things That Go event, and that was well attended and a great event. See some kids jump in the DARE car and get their picture taken.
Yep.
Anything else? All right. Well, having heard that, we'll go ahead and open this up to the audience. If anybody has anything that they would like to make comments to council on, if you could step to the podium and you can state your name, your address, you got 3 minutes.
It will take much less than that. We, Renee Vance, 19813 Tangle Nook, Sedalia. The Sedalia Senior Center finished their yearly at the end of July. We are now starting 2024, and as of July, we have served 5,000 meals a month. So our monthly fundraiser will be on October 15th from 11 to 1, a dine-in, carry-out. We are now taking cash, card, and check. The menu will be Italian. We're going to have lasagna, salad, garlic, bread, and homemade desserts. So $12 for adults, $5 for kids. Please support our Sedalia Senior Center.
Okay, we'll do that. I'll make sure that gets added to the council calendar and also the Sedalia community calendar.
Also, Andy, put on your calendar October 26th. It's on a Thursday. The reason I know the day that's Maybell's birthday, but going to have the Crime Stoppers spaghetti dinner down in the church across from I don't know the name of it, across from the Liberty Pool. It's always a well-attended event. There'll be silent auction. Maybe I was going to have 4 pies there. Anybody wants to buy a pie, come on down. And I know it's a good fundraiser for the Crime Stoppers.
Okay, we'll get that added.
October 26th.
Time.
I think it starts like at 5.
Thank you.
5 to 7, I think. But it's good spaghetti. Chris, the cook at the jail, cooks the meal. It's spaghetti, and it's usually pretty good.
They sell out, so you better get there early.
Yeah. Yeah, I told you collected it.
Yeah, so, anybody else have any, wants to go ahead and make comment to the council, the public? All right, we'll have.
No further comments, I'll move to closed door session for legal advice, real estate, personnel, and negotiated contracts.
Second.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Robinson is absent. Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall? Yes. August?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yep.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
And Bliss.
Yes.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we have no other matters to consider, so now I will entertain a motion, a second to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?